Okay, so we've taught you how to solve two-step and multi-step equations. We've taught you that one difference that you need to remember when you are solving inequalities. So now is your time to throw this all together. So I have 4 questions on two-step and multi-step inequalities. You have to remember that constants still come first, then your coefficients, and then you have to flip that inequality sign whenever you multiply or divide both sides by that negative number. So in our first inequality, we have 4x minus 3 is less than negative 15. I'm going to start by looking at the constant, which is negative 3. To get rid of that, I'm going to add 3 to both sides, because negative 3 plus 3 is 0. I'm going to bring down my 4x, bring down my less than. Negative 15 plus 3 is negative 12. And then to get rid of multiplication, I do the inverse and I divide, because 4 divided by 4 is 1. So we have 1x, or just x. Over here, negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. And in solving, we divided both sides by a positive 4, so no need to flip our inequality sign. So our answer is x is less than negative 3. To graph that, I'm going to put negative 3 there, do a couple numbers on each side. This one is going to be an open circle, and then everything less than, smaller than it, so shading to the left. Our second one, 5 is the constant. To get rid of a positive 5, I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. 5 minus 5 is 0. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Bring down my greater than or equal to. And now we do have to remember that when we bring this down, there is a minus in front. And there's a couple different ways you can attack this. I think the best way is to just take that negative and stick it with the denominator. Because really, you can stick it out front, you can stick it on top, you can stick it on the bottom. By sticking it with the denominator, we can kind of just get rid of it in one step. So now we have a division inequality. To get rid of division, we need to multiply, and we need to get rid of this negative 2. So we're going to multiply both sides by negative 2, because this makes 1. We get our x. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. And now, in solving, we ended up multiplying both sides by that negative 2, so we need to flip our inequality sign. So 4 is less than or equal to x is our answer. However, when I go to graph this, I like having that variable first. So remember, we said we can take that and switch it around, so if the variable comes first, that just means we're going to reverse this whole inequality. So instead of saying 4 is less than or equal to x, it's like I'm almost reading it backwards. X is greater than or equal to 4. And that's the one I'm going to use to help me graph, because I'm going to stick my 4, 5, 6, a couple on this side. This one's going to be a closed circle, and then everything greater than it, so going to the right. Okay, 2 more. Okay, this one here, constant is negative 6. So we must add 6 to both sides. That gives me 0. I bring down my 3/4 x, greater than or equal to, and negative 15 plus 6 is negative 9. And I threw this one in here on purpose. Okay, a lot of us are still having some trouble with this one. Okay. There is multiplication going on here, and you could divide by 3/4. Okay, that's a perfectly acceptable step. But remember, there's that shortcut way. Okay, it kind of makes a little bit more sense because you're going to have to do this anyway, so why not just do it immediately? If I have a fractional coefficient, I can multiply by the reciprocal. Because think, if you divide by 3/4 and you divide this by 3/4, in the end, you're still going to have to multiply by the reciprocal. So if I automatically multiply by the reciprocal on both sides, okay, my 3's reduce, my 4's reduce, I'm just left with that x. So x is greater than or equal to, because we didn't multiply by a negative, we multiplied by positives. No need to flip. We could say -9/1. I can reduce by 3's. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. A negative times a positive means this is going to be a -12. So -12, -11, -10, -13, -14. This could be a closed-in circle, and then everything greater than it. Okay, last one. This one has some parentheses, so hopefully you're thinking we need to distribute on this one. Okay, so we're going to distribute that 4 to both pieces, which gives us 4 minus 8x is less than 12. I want to note that if for some reason this was a negative, that step when you're distributing, when you're multiplying both pieces by that -4, does not mean you're flipping that inequality sign around, because you're not multiplying both sides by that -4. You would just be distributing the -4. But I'm going to get that away because this was a +4. Oops, I lost my 4. Oops, what's going on here? Back. +4. There we go. Okay. So 4 minus 8x is less than 12. Now I have to get rid of my constant, which is 4. So I'm subtracting 4 on both sides. Be careful, because we're bringing down a -8x. So -8x is less than 8. Now we are at a step with multiplication. So to get rid of multiplication, we divide. We're trying to get rid of a -8, so we're dividing both sides by -8. That gives you 1x. 8 divided by -8 is -1. And we multiplied both sides of our inequality by, divided both sides of our inequality by a negative. So we must flip our sign. Okay, so we have -1 and a couple on each side. Open circle, and then shade greater than, shading to the right. And that's it. So remember, constant first, then coefficient. When you multiply or divide both sides by a negative, flip the sign. And if you get an answer where your variable is not the first thing that's there, it's always a good idea to flip that entire answer around to make it so that your variable comes first.